I'd like to now call to order the fourth session of the 2012 Maryland State Firemen's Association Convention. I'd ask Kobe Howe of the Safety Committee to please step forward to the mic and give us the safety message.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank David Lewis from the Safety Committee for a well-done year. And we'd like to congratulate John Denver on his upcoming year. Now, as you all well know, we've had difficulty with the exits this year with people standing in front of them due to the fact that we've had 500 chairs less to work with. So I think your Safety Committee has done a well and great job this year trying to protect your needs and ideas. And once again, check the exits, know your surroundings, and please be safe and go to the parade and watch the parade and have fun with your families this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Now I'd like Deacon George Lew to come forward for the invocation.
Let us stand in prayer. Most loving and merciful Father, we thank you for this opportunity again to meet, do the business of the American State Firemen's Association. We ask you to be with us as we call upon you for help in the decisions we make and the work we do. I ask you to bless us in all we do as we begin the end of this session of the conference, of the convention. Lord, look down upon those who are not able to be here because of illness. We ask you to bless all those who have died. May they rest in peace. Lord, this morning, may we call upon you for help when we need it. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Just like to do a quick reminder, the parade does start at 1 o'clock. It will run from 16th Street to about 33rd Street. But also like to remind you that it is predicted that the weather will be quite warm today, so please hydrate, please be prepared for that warm weather. I'd like to ask Dave Lewis, past President Lewis, to come to the podium for an award presentation.
Not done yet. We've got a little unfinished business. I'd like to first ask Convention Committee Chairman Ron Sarnicki to join me at the podium. Also, Mayor Rick Meehan and Dennis Dare. Just got a little bit of unfinished business. This convention takes a lot of work to go on. Our own MSFA Convention Committee works hard to make the convention on, but we can't do it without the help of the city. We'd certainly like to recognize some individuals this morning that helped the convention committee to help us put the convention on. Dennis Dare was the city manager for more than 20 years for the town of Ocean City. Of course, the mayor, Rick Meehan, has been right there. So I know from Ron's perspective, anytime we needed help, it was always good that we had help from the top two layers of the city, the mayor and the city manager, that we could go to address any issues and concerns that we had. We certainly appreciate their efforts. We certainly thanked the mayor the other day and continue to thank him. But we would like to make a small presentation. Dennis did retire in September, and we don't want him to get away without a few tokens of our appreciation for the job that he did for us, again, as city manager for over 20 years. So we do have a small gift from us. It's presented to Dennis Dare, retired city manager, Ocean City, Maryland, a special tribute to honor Dennis Dare for his outstanding and dedicated service to the Maryland State Firemen's Association. And we'd like you to take this and proudly display this as a token of our appreciation. Dennis, to make you part of the official MSFA convention. We certainly want you to leave here with one of our convention bags, as well as a commemorative mug for this year's convention. Again, to take back as a small token of our appreciation for your support and assistance for the last 20 years. Mr. Mayor, again, we got a lot of help from a lot of people here, and we have some resolutions that on behalf of MSFA that we would ask your assistance to take back to some city officials, to the city council, Chief Bernadette from the Ocean City Police, Chief Larimore from the Ocean City Fire Department, the Ocean City Chamber of Commerce, and the Hotel Motel Association. If you will please take those back and make sure that they're given to the appropriate individuals with our thanks and appreciation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Well, President mentioned dedication, over 20 years here, but it's been a privilege to work with the Maryland State Firemen's Association over those 20 years. And I thank you for your dedication to your communities. Well, in this day and age, it's very important. And thank you for your dedication and for recognition.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for being here this morning. Thank you, President Denver, for the opportunity to present this award this morning.
Thank you, sir. There is an announcement we'd like to make sure that anyone that might be heading home today is aware of. The Bay Bridge will be totally closed today at 1300 hours for approximately 1 hour. So time your trip accordingly. But want to make sure everyone was aware of that in case you are leaving today. Next, we'll have a presentation from John Donahue from the Maryland Institute for Emergency Medical Services Systems. Over the past 12 months, Maryland has been witness to a number of natural disasters from wind, rain, storm, fire, flood, and even earthquake. In some cases, emergency responders were dealing with the consequences of events rarely seen in this area. This presentation will review the response and recovery from some of these major events and the lessons that can be applied to planning for emergency responses for the future events of this nature. John Donahue.
This is quite intimidating for me. I think the last time I was up on this stage was several years ago when I was in the pajama parade with Lionel Parsons' nightie on. So hopefully I can learn to use this thing. Seriously, I mean, I've done presentations recently, for example, in Nashville in front of 3,000 people. This is quite an honor to be here in front of everybody who are my peers and I consider my friends. So thank you very much for inviting me. Let me just start. We did yeah, it is working. On Tuesday in August, the 23rd of August, I was getting ready for our morning leadership meeting with Dr. Bass and all of the leaders in Maryland, or in MIMS, and just kind of going through a bunch of notes of what I needed to present, and I knew we had a little storm coming up, so I wanted to look at that, and here you'll see the proposed track for Irene, not Isabel. We've already had Isabel. So this was the track for Irene, and I'm like, this looks a little intimidating, because a couple of weeks before I went out to West Virginia, they have a little dam called Bluestone Dam. At the dam, that dam is probably about 60, 70 years old, and it is failing apparently. So they've been doing a lot of work to shore the dam up, and they're still worried that it might break. If that dam does break, that's the area that you're going to see get affected by the water, all down along the New River Valley. And of those of you who might know West Virginia, about 2/3 downstream is a little town called Charleston, which is their capital. So we were told that the convention center would have 20 foot of water should the dam break in Charleston. So we had been working with West Virginia And I was making some phone calls to see if they were concerned about that, because when we did go up there to talk with them about it, they showed us the track of Isabel, and they said that if another Isabel hit, that they would be have 3 to 4 inches of water hitting the dam, and then they would end up having to deal with a response of evacuating that entire community. So we looked at Isabel, and then you overlay the track for Irene, and it's just slightly west of where Isabel was, and that would come right into that whole drainage area for the dam. So off I go to the oops, let me back up here. Oh, we'll wait. I went off to the meeting and made that presentation, came back and made some more phone calls to West Virginia. They were still watching it closely. And then that afternoon, when I'm getting ready to pack up to go off to another meeting, things shook a little bit. I was wondering what the hell's going on. I think many of you remember a little shake that we had, the earthquake on the 23rd. So all in one day, I'm worried about a dam breaking, and then I thought, oh my God, you know, did the dam stay after the earthquake? Where was the earthquake? So lots of stuff. We actually, luckily, did not have a lot of damage from the earthquake, and the dam was still there, thank goodness. So we didn't have to run off to West Virginia to help them out. So, excuse me. Then, unfortunately, the storm turned a little bit more to the east, and guess what? We got hit by the storm. So a couple of days before the storm, we start looking at, actually, if you go back and look at the history, there is, we have not been hit by a real full-scale hurricane since 1931. This is the first hurricane that hit us. There's always tropical storms or whatever. So this was the first hurricane that actually came across Maryland since 1931. So we were a little concerned. We normally know where all of the healthcare facilities are, so 94, 72 hours out, we're looking at that and trying to make a decision as to what we're going to be doing, whether we need to evacuate or move folks out. We did make a decision that we needed to contact a nursing home in Salisbury. Number one, Anchorage, which is right on the canal that goes through Salisbury. They voluntarily evacuated and took care of things themselves. They had some commercial ambulance companies they were under contract with, and they also used some bus companies. So we did not get involved in the evacuation of Anchorage. However, there's another little place down a little bit further south in Somerset County called Talls, Alice B. Talls Nursing Home, and Edward McCready Hospital. Just a small hospital. I think they have probably 10, 20 beds, but they also have about 60 people in this nursing home. They just spent a lot of money trying to ensure that if they did get hit by a hurricane, that they would be okay. For those of you who are not familiar with Talls, if you take a look at it, the building right here, oops, now I do need to back up. Okay. The building right here is the nursing home, and then the hospital is very adjacent to that. So they spent a lot of money putting everything up a little bit higher and made sure that if they did get hit by water, they would be okay. The only problem is if they get hit by water and they get inundated by water and floods, then we're not going to be able to get to them. So if they have an issue with one of their patients or one of their residents, we're going to have some issues. So we felt like we needed to move those folks out of there. They were not really willing to move out on their own, so we ended up having to have the governor order them to move out. It took us we sent several folks from MIMS down there and got a bunch of commercial ambulance companies involved, since there's not a whole lot of ambulances in Somerset and in that area, and they were all busy anyway trying to deal with getting ready for the storm. And during that, this is the first time we actually used something called the patient tracking system, where we could keep track of every individual patient, walk through, scan them with little handheld scanners, put triage tags on them, and started to keep track of them. We were able to track exactly where those patients were and when they arrived at the other facilities. During that, you can see that we had 62 patients. We sent them to 10 different nursing homes, used 36 transport units. We traveled 7,970 miles with these patients. Because we didn't have a whole lot of space on the Eastern Shore, we had to move them over onto the Western Shore, sent them as far as Silver Spring, Baltimore, etc. Some of the transports were 160 plus miles. So you can imagine that that took a little bit of time. Actually, it took us almost 12 hours. We did, when we were moving folks back, we did have one of the ambulances crash on the Bay Bridge. Luckily, it was a minor crash, just a bump, and the folks, everybody there was okay. After we got that done, I finally got home, went to bed. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jeff, who was at the SCOC, calls me up and says, "John, we have a problem." I said, "What now? Everybody's okay? Did something happen with one of the patients?" He says, "No. Dorchester just called. Apparently they've got wind damage from the storm." So this is like right in the middle of the storm that they're talking with us. So we ended up doing pretty much planning to do the same thing that we did with Talls to move those patients. Luckily, there was only about 25 patients there. It was the first time that I've ever actually been on the Bay Bridge by myself. The Bay Bridge was actually closed, so I'm running down to the Bay Bridge, trying to get down there. We're talking to SHA on the way down. He said, "Oh yeah, you can go across. Just stay in the middle of the road and just hold on to the wheel real tight. You'll be fine." So I said, "Okay." Actually, the bridge that was worse than the Bay Bridge, I got across the Bay Bridge, was the bridge that you see right there is the Choptank River Bridge, was actually worse than the Bay Bridge. I'm going through there and the wind's whipping up over the concrete barriers, and I felt like I was in a tunnel because it was a big tunnel of water coming across that bridge. That one was actually pretty easy. It was only 19 patients. It took us 5 hours, but it was because we were trying to take things very slow and not injure any of the patients. None of the patient rooms were hurt. It was all of their diagnostic areas that they had difficulties with. They all went to Easton Memorial, which is just about 15 miles away. So we did have Dorchester County, Talbot County units involved. We also had, again, commercial units involved, and myself and Joe Davis were the ones that helped out from MIMS, trying to help keep track of all the patients. Well, we got through that weekend, got a little bit of rest, tried to catch up on regular work during the week. However, we had another disaster waiting to happen. If you can see this is Pratt Street in Baltimore, and there's cars that are going 250 miles an hour down Pratt Street with lots of people just on either side of those. So that was actually a disaster waiting to happen. We ended up spending the whole weekend with three different aid stations, plus what we call the race hospital. This is the race course itself. It's kind of difficult to see, but this is the Baltimore Convention Center here. I guess I should show that over here too. There's the Baltimore Convention Center. We had the race hospital. We had an aid station here, aid station over there, and an aid station over here right along the harbor. The command post for EMS was set up right there by the stadium. So during that time, we had about, if you look on here, we again used the patient tracking system. It's a little difficult to see, but if you look right around where I pointed before, you'll see little green dots and yellow dots and red dots. They're all patients that we tracked during that time. We were able, using the patient tracking system, we were able to keep track of all the patients and provide a report to command every 2 hours, several reports. I just missed one, just keep on clicking through, but it were very detailed reports about how many patients were at each station at any one time, how many they had seen over a certain period of time, when they saw them, and the priorities of the patients. We've had during that weekend about 146 patients that we dealt with during that weekend. Okay, let's go on. There we go. Again, here's some of the folks that were involved in it. We did have a lot of help from our contractor with the patient tracking system that weekend, which we didn't have when we were doing with the Talls, so we were able to provide lots more reports during that time. Well, during that, I think it was Saturday morning, I'm standing there at the command post. We just got, I'm getting a call from MEMA. And I said, look, I can't talk to you guys right now. I'll call you back in a few minutes. We're just trying to get everybody out on the street. So we got everybody out on the street. And of course, I try to call them back, and as soon as I try to call them back, it's like, with all the cars going by, I couldn't hear, so. But Mike Fisher from MEMA was on the line. He says, John, I guess I shouldn't stand over there. He says, John, have you seen Lee? Lee? Who's Lee? He says, Lee. I said, I don't know who you're talking about. He says, no, not who, what? Basically, he was talking about the tropical storm Lee. I had worked with Mike also and a couple of other folks at MEMA to be prepared for the Bluestone Dam issue. I had talked to him a couple weeks before, or a couple days before, when we had Irene coming up. And here's Lee heading right for West Virginia. So I was like, oh my God, here we go again. Luckily for West Virginia, Lee took a left turn. Unlucky for us, Lee took a right turn, not a left turn. And guess what? Now we're dealing with another storm. We have Tropical Storm Lee. The storm itself was not that bad. It was just all of the water that had dumped above us that was coming down to the Conowingo Dam. Beforehand, I think Hartford and Cecil, they had a couple of the gates open before Lee actually hit because of Irene. Now we're opening up all of the gates. We're planning to open up all of the gates, all 51 gates, which has not happened since, not even Isabel, Agnes, I believe, was the last time that happened. So well, we're talking about a major issue. Well, downstream, there's another little place called Citizens Care Nursing Home and Nursing Center, and it is right on the water. Our one inundation map showed that the water would end up halfway through the nursing home if they opened up all the gates. So we're like, oh my goodness, here we go. Luckily, our inundation maps that we get from the Weather Service are very conservative. So we decided it was time to actually, Hartford County and Citizens decided on their own without the state even getting involved that they wanted to evacuate. And we stepped in to help. Again, we were using the patient tracking system. They had 152 patients. We sent them to 25 different nursing homes using 46 ambulances, Howard County Medical Ambulance Bus, 2 county buses. It took us 10 hours, so we're getting better. 3 times the patients in 2 hours less, so we're getting a little better. And we did something new. There was not going to be any of the administration at the nursing home after they left. So they were concerned that patients' families were going to be looking for them, for the patients, et cetera. So we contacted the Department of Human Resources, who I had had some discussions with, no real plans yet, but some discussions with for them to be the family reunification people. So they decided to do that. That's the first time we set up an 800 number to be able to have a number where people could call to do that, and we just, again, did that at Celebration. I think they got 1 call during the time that the nursing home was evacuated, but at least we were ready for questions. Again, here's, we had Hartford, Cecil, commercial ambulance companies, and obviously a lot of the other local resources had helped out with that. So that's pretty much some of the issues that we dealt with during that 1 month. Since then, we've had the celebration and a couple of other issues pop up. But you know, every time we do something like this, I always get very concerned that we are maybe not doing enough. So what do we have in place in Maryland? I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. Probably the biggest asset we have in the state of Maryland is one communication system that spans the entire state for EMS. At the center of that communication system is EMRC Syscom, and if they know about something, then they can bring resources to whatever's going on. So if your folks are ever faced with a situation like this and they don't know where to go, they can contact EMRC Syscom, and it'll start kicking some resources up for you. We will send some folks out to stand. If it turns out to be nothing, we'll stand there and give you some coffee. And run back and forth and make sure you have some coffee and donuts anytime you need it. However, if you do need to start getting the hospitals notified, the earlier your folks call EMRC Syscom, the better off we're going to be, because we can get the hospitals notified, we can let MEMA know that something's going on, et cetera. So let your folks know to get in touch with EMRC Syscom as soon as possible. We now have Yeah. It was, I mean, I lost the PowerPoint too, so I guess it's time for me to get off the stage, huh? There we go. Am I back? I'm back. Woo! Wasn't prepared for that. I knew somebody I'd I guess I said something bad. But get in touch with the MRC Syscom as quickly as possible. We now also have something called HC Standard, which is our resource and tracking system where once you guys do call them, we can notify the hospitals quickly. MEMA gets notified. Lots of folks get notified if we put out an alert that there's a mass casualty incident or a hospital's having issues. That information goes out to lots of folks through HC Standard. We can also find out where hospital beds are, if they need medications. I think Baltimore City at one point needed calcium gluconate for some hazardous materials at the harbor. So we were able to find the calcium gluconate through the system at the hospitals. There's a lot more calcium gluconate gel out there than you would think. That also, some of the folks, we asked the 911 centers and hospitals and everything to start monitoring that system. They kept saying, we got enough systems to monitor now, we're not going to monitor yours too. I said, well, how about if we bring them all together? Now we have this situated, we have it set up with this dashboard so that they can look at several systems at once. So on here you have the Health Alert Network, you've got some mapping applications, so you can get little snippets of any sort of system that you need to monitor can be placed into that situational awareness dashboard. And again, we've already talked about patient tracking. You'll see on here the little handheld unit, and it pretty much follows the triage tag. As far as it's got several screens that it steps through quickly. You can jump to patient fairly quickly and get through everything and get on to the next patient. There's one thing that's new that's coming out. It pretty much looks the same for the most part. It's a new triage tag coming out. It will have a peel off armband, so that if you need to, you can just put the armband on and have the triage tag there also. There's also a new color here I need to start letting people know about, but ignore it. There's gray. We have red, yellow, green, and black. Gray is something that's new. Every time we order triage tags, we have to order them for enough for like 5 years. So we have to be ready for whatever's coming down. There's some work going on at the national level, which will include a new category called expectant, which is gray. So until that comes along, we have to order the tags now, but the gray has not yet been defined, so we'll have to ask everybody to ignore that for a while. We do lots of planning for EMS surge. If you look here, this is just a spreadsheet. It's kind of small here, but our biggest issue is to keep people out of the hospital during EMS surge so that we don't have ambulances backing up and that sort of thing. So we're looking at setting up call centers so that 911, if somebody doesn't need an ambulance, they can transfer them to a call center. We're looking at alternate care centers. We already have protocols for EMD folks to be able to send less resources than they normally would send. We have different alternate transport protocols so that folks can take patients to places other than hospitals. So that's coming down the line. We now have a DMAT, or a Disaster Medical Assistance Team, which is a federal asset within Maryland. It is the Maryland team. Unfortunately, we can't use them without saying, Mother May I, which is not what I like to do to the feds. So we are looking at trying to make that a state asset by providing them some resources locally. Oh, if I hit that bottom button, that goes too. Sorry about that. So we are looking to make that a state asset also. So it's basically what it is a mobile hospital that we could go move and set up if we had to. There's also something called ChemPack, which is available to you if you have a mass poisoning. You can call Syscom for the ChemPack. They will have the state police fly that out to you. It's all the medications that you would need for organophosphate poisonings, which are many of the WMD agents are organophosphates, so it should help you out with that. We also have been working very hard to be prepared to receive patients from other people's disasters, including NDMS reception. In fact, our plans for the Bluestone Dam are based on the NDMS reception. We just had an exercise back in May for this where folks get flown into BWI. We use commercial and public safety ambulances to get them out to all of the hospitals from there. We still have the CISM folks out there, and they do get used very often. We are trying to move from a state team, to a state network of teams, since many folks have their own local teams that they want to have around, and we're working to make sure that they're all coordinated and they work with one another. As many of you have been involved with, we have done several EMAC deployments. This is one area where we need to do some more work to have folks ready to go beforehand, get them trained up and ready to deal in the environments. We've sent folks to Katrina in Louisiana and Gustav, so we did have 2 major EMAC deployments. Now, how do we know what we have is enough? Every year we survey all of the jurisdictions, and one thing that I found out is that nobody can do the stuff on their own. There are lots of folks that even after taking patients using ambulances twice during an MCI, using some of the federal guidance, we're supposed to be able to transport 500 patients per million population from a disaster. If you look at this, you'll see several counties that even after using the ambulance twice, they can't do that on their own. However, if we look at those numbers at a regional level, you can see that we can do that. We look at not just the ability to transport, but we also are looking at the supplies that are available, et cetera, to make sure that we have enough assets ready to roll. So, let me just recap. We have lots of hazards within the state. A lot of them we are familiar with and ready for: hurricanes, tropical storms, fires, et cetera. We did get introduced this year to a new disaster called an earthquake. Hopefully, actually I just hired a guy this year. In the last 6 months, I hired a guy from California to help us out with some of the emergency management stuff, Randy Linthicum. Every time we talk about the earthquake, he laughs at us. He says, "We were laughing at you," because he was from Sacramento. That's what, I mean, we deal with those all the time. It's no big deal. So we do have many hazards. However, I think we're very lucky in the state of Maryland that we do have many resources here also. I think we are very blessed with a lot of folks who are willing, including yourselves, willing to step up and respond and not have to worry about the money. There's one thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about the tallest nursing home. The state ended up having to pay for the commercial ambulances for that. It was over $150,000 for those commercial ambulances to move those patients out and move them back. We have changed the law now so that all the nursing homes would be responsible for the bill. So we did get a bill passed this year to be able to do that. So we do have many resources, and we have many providers. You know, I spent some time on Sunday doing a longer version of this where I kind of walked through what the providers need to do to be trained and be ready. We are going to add, we're working on a draft protocol, not to tell everybody what they need, not to dictate to all the jurisdictions what they need to do for disaster, but to give them certain points where everybody has difficulties during disasters. It's the communications issues, it's tracking of the patient issues, et cetera. Every time we've had a disaster, we've had lots of lessons learned, and they all seem to be the same. So we were trying to, going to be coming out with a protocol shortly and a lot of training materials. We do have triage tag training material on our website right now, which is also being updated. So we need to make sure those providers are ready. Even the person who's on that first ambulance may be the one that finds out that he's in the middle of something that's well over his head and well over the local jurisdiction's head to be able to handle. So we need to have them prepared to do that, to set up the command and that sort of thing. With that, that's pretty much everything. If anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them, or I'll be hanging around for a little bit afterwards to be able to answer other questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that fine presentation. Just expressing our thanks and resolution from the association for that presentation.
Oh my goodness.
And the convention bag and mug.
All All right,
Thank you again.
All right, you can look in here too. Oh, what's that?
I'd like to call past President Dave Lewis for his remarks as outgoing president.
Thank you, John. To the members of the Maryland State Firemen's Association, it's been an honor to serve you over the past year as your president. Last night, we installed a new team of officers for 2012. I am now proud to stand before you as the newest member of the Past President's Club. This is an elite group of individuals that I've grown to trust, their judgment and their advice during my own term, and I now look forward to being able to help others that may call upon me for assistance. I thank each and every one of you for the opportunity to serve as your president and pledge my continued commitment to the incoming officers to support the mission and goals of the Maryland State Firemen's Association in any way. And I was told there's 3 things I need to remember: stand up and be seen, speak up and be heard, shut up and be liked. So thank you.
Now I'd like to ask the officers of the Ladies Auxiliary to please come forward. That's fine. I now have the pleasure of welcoming to the podium 2012 President of the Maryland State Firemen's Association Ladies Auxiliary President Sherry Soper.
There's a lot of us. It's a pleasure to be here today to greet you all. I hope everybody's having a good day. At this time, I'd like to introduce our officers. Senior Vice President Carol Hayden from Kensington Volunteer Fire Department. Junior Vice President Ann Price Davis from Cockeysville. Recording Secretary Darby Bird from Dentsville. Treasurer Barbara Sue Nelson from 7th District. Our financial secretary is Vivian Boyd. She is not here this week due to the illness of her sister, and she needed to be there with her. Corresponding secretary Nancy Jones from Indian Head. Chaplain Marcia Roth from Sandy Spring. Vice Chaplain Lori Denbo from Level. Historian Donna Struntz from Bowling Green. Guard Becky Walthen from Ridge. Color bearer Malia Dalton from Jarrettsville. Color bearer Brenda Harrison from Junior Fire Company Number 2. Our Bessie Marshall Chairman, Elaine Huttenlock from Forestville. My conference chairman, Ruth Martin from Woodsboro. and my conference co-chairman, Jean Main from Lewistown. Before we leave, we've had an amazing week with our Bessie Marshall Committee, and I'd like to ask Elaine to give you her report of what we've done this week with Bessie Marshall.
Good morning. This year we have paid 49 cases for over $40,000. That money is raised through donations, etc., the lottery when you receive it. Bessie Marshall Fund is for any fire or EMS personnel hurt or sick not in the line of duty. You are required now to put your Social Security number on the form. The forms are confidential. They are not spread around the world, so you don't have to worry about that. In the past, we've had a good convention, but we've never raised money like this today. I would like to just tell you where we are. Taken in at Ocean City. We took in $25 in phone fines. So every time your phone rings, somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder for $5. The money raffle was $641. The Susan Club was $63. The fire company donations were $650. The gift cards were $268. Individual donations were $830. The lottery took in additional $526. The Little Red Fire Truck, we took in additional $368. And from around the state, the fundraisers that the local auxiliaries did was $21,101 for a grand total of taken in at Ocean City, $24,472. Thank you all very much.
Bessie Marshall is a very important committee that we have, and I encourage all of you to support it. We try to do our best to help out the firemen that need our help. I want to thank you all again for allowing us to come over here and be introduced. And John, we're finished if you're ready to let us go.
Thank you so much for joining us, and you can please return to your meetings. While the ladies are leaving, please ask all the executive committee members to please report backstage, and also all the assistant officers also to report backstage. Good morning. It's a tremendous honor to stand before you as president of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. The MSFA is one of the premier fire service organizations in this country, and I'm humbled that you've chosen me to lead it. It seems my whole life has prepared me for this responsibility. As the third of 4 generations of my family to be involved in the fire service, I began before I was actually old enough to join. Once I did join in 1968, I developed many lifelong friends, a number of whom are here this week, and I thank you all for coming. After retiring just over 3 years ago, past President Steve Cox suggested I consider running for second vice president. While I had been active in the MSFA for a number of years, I'd not seriously considered running as president. It was in the back of my mind at times, but I didn't think it would ever actually happen. After seeking my family's support, I also received the support of St. Louis Fire Company, the Cecil County Firemen's Association, and the Hartford Cecil Association, and my travels around the state began. I have so many people to thank. First of all, my family, Anna Marie, my wife, my 2 children, Tracy and Mike, their spouses, and their children. I've missed a lot of dinners, birthday parties, and school functions in the last 2 years, and they've been very understanding. The officers and members of St. Louis Fire Company and the St. Louis Ladies Auxiliary have supported my candidacy from day one. The Cecil County Association and the Hartford Cecil Association worked tireless to help me also. They've run fundraisers, handed out pens, hats, and stickers, and done whatever's needed. MSFA past presidents and officers and members have all offered support over the last 2 years, and I'll be forever grateful to all of them. I do, though, need to single out 2 people for special thanks. Past President Steve Cox for not only starting me down this path, but sticking with me and offering guidance and help every step of the way. The second is Ben Kurtz, who joined me on this ride to serve on the executive committee for me the last 2 years and to chair it this year. In closing, I would like to invite each of you to join us for the executive committee meeting on August 25th and 26th in Elkton, the new center of the state. I'd now like to introduce Jackie Olson, First Vice President of the MSFA.
Good morning. It truly is an honor to stand before you as your first Vice President. I want to thank you for your continued support, and I want to thank you for what you do every day. Whether it be running calls, saving lives and property, organizing a fundraiser, serving refreshments at an incident, taking classes to become a volunteer, or conducting a meeting at your company, I say thank you. The MSFA is a diverse organization, and we have so many individuals that are dedicated and committed to the volunteer fire rescue and EMS services of this great state. I'd like to congratulate John Denver, Sherry Soper, Dave Keller, Carol Hayden, and Ann Price, and I look forward to working with you this year. I also pledge again this year to do my best to make our voices heard when it comes to our issues and find solutions that will benefit all of us. Again, a heartfelt thanks, and if I could be of any assistance to any of you, please do not hesitate to call. And please enjoy the parade today. Thank you again.
Now ask Second Vice President Dave Keller for his remarks.
Good morning. First, a heartfelt thank you to everyone. To President Denver, Vice President Olson, officers, delegates. I'm honored to stand here this morning as the Maryland State Firemen's Association's second Vice President. I would like to start with some thank yous. First to my wife and son Davey for allowing me to spend time away from them as I tried to move this association forward. To my mom and dad, my aunts and uncles, who have taught me how to give to the community as they have. To my home company, the Citizens Truck Company, and the Frederick County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association for their continued support. To the past presidents who have guided me, and also to my supporters who will stick with me as I continue to grow as a leader of this great association. I will close with this. I look forward to working with each of you and your associations as we move the Maryland State Firemen's Association and the Maryland Fire Service for the betterment of our citizens. Thank you.
Normally, the next officer to give the remarks would be the newly elected secretary. As I'm sure you're aware, Doyle's not able to join us. Please keep Doyle and his family in your thoughts and prayers. I'd like to ask now Ron Sarnicki to please step forward.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here again with you, and there's a lot happening here within the convention. I'm here just to say that it is going to be an honor to again serve as your treasurer. I'm on a 2-year term cycle, so there was no election for me this year. I have a whole nother year to continue with the finance team. I'm looking forward to the changes that have occurred with the new financial secretary and the adjustments we've made with the assistant treasurers and assistant financial secretaries. As I said in my report on Monday, the association has done a lot to bring their books in order, and we are making changes going from a cash accounting system to an accrual accounting system, but overall things are well in line, and we are working with the Ladies Auxiliary of the Maryland State Firemen's Association to bring their books into the same accounting software since we all function under one tax ID number. So it's a pleasure. If there's anything you need from my office or myself, please don't hesitate to call, email, reach out to us, and it'll be a great opportunity to serve you again as your treasurer. Thank you.
Now I'd like to call newly elected Financial Secretary Mitch Foat.
Thank you, President Denver. Good morning, everyone. Lou Johnsky wanted me to extend this speech for about 30 minutes so he can sell more raffle tickets downstairs, but I told him this trap door is going to open, so it's not going to happen. First, I'd like to make some thank yous. First, to my wife, Darlene. As I stated at a Hartford Cecil meeting, you have to have your support and your endorsement at home first. She's been behind me 150%, and that I thank her. President Ted Burkhart, Chief Rudy Walter, the Jarrettsville Volunteer Fire Company and all its members, President Bill Dusa and the members of the Hartford County Volunteer Fire and EMS Association, President Monica Penhall and the Cecil County Volunteer Firemen's Association members, and President Joe Price and the members of the Hartford Cecil Volunteer Firemen's Association. They've all been giving me their endorsement and their support, and I much appreciate it. Also to my special advisor, past President Steve Cox. And special thanks goes out to the MSFA financial team, Treasurer Ron Sarnke, past President Bob Jacobs, past President Lee Sachs, past President Fred Cross, for having the faith and the confidence in me to fulfill the duties of this office. Also, I will do my best to fill the big shoes that past President Cross is leaving behind, although he's still going to be here. If the office can help, please call, and we will assist you in any way possible. Thank you.
Next, we'll have remarks from Chief Chaplain John Long.
Good morning. What a great day. I woke up this morning as a new man. But if you like the old one, I'm back. Look, the Chaplain's Corps is here to help. Whatever your needs are, we're here for you, but we can't be there for you if we don't know you have a need. So please don't fail to call us. I'd rather get 20 phone calls telling me about the same thing than not get any phone calls. So keep us in touch, keep us in your thoughts, and please keep Doyle Cox's family in your prayers. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to ask Ben Kurtz, Chair of the Executive Committee, to please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to introduce your Executive Committee for 2012-2013. Vice Chairman Dennis Skinner, Charles Abrecht, Bill Hildebrand, Lee Lutz, Jim Seavey, Richard Smith, Dan Stevens, Joel McCrae, Mark Bilger, Rodney Bowser, John Guntow, and joining us this year, past President David Lewis. Ladies and gentlemen, your Executive Committee for 2012-2013. Thank you, gentlemen.
Next, we have remarks from Terry Thompson, Board of Trustees.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for your support so that I could serve another term on the Board of Trustees. I want to thank my fellow trustees. I can really say that this team of trustees that we have now over the past several years has worked as a team, which we should be, to improving the benefits that we are able to provide to the people that are injured into the line of duty or the widows or widowers when somebody's killed in the line of duty. I can tell you that we are going to continue working on that. We had a long discussion on Sunday morning, and tomorrow morning we will be meeting again in an executive committee. We will be announcing some enhancements to the rewards. If you need any of us during a injury, line of duty injury, or death, please contact us, because that's why we're here. We're here to serve you all. Thank you all very much.
Next, we'd like to introduce the assistant officers. We'll start with the assistant secretaries, Richard Hemphill, Shirley Capata, Tom Scott, and Nancy Scott. Assistant treasurers, George A. Fred Cross Jr., past president, Robert W. Jacobs, past president, and Lee N. Sachs, past president. Financial secretary will be Mike Faust. The office of attorney, Michael Farlow, Esquire. The office of parliamentarian, chair will be Richard Brooks. And with him will be William J. Wagner and Ken Bush. The assistant chaplains will be Reverend Frederick Barr, Deacon James Barnhart, Rabbi Kenneth Block, Reverend Dave Koblenz, Reverend Harry Hetz, Reverend Marvin Jackson, Deacon George LaRue, and Calvin Pete Walbert. And we'd also like past President Terry Thompson to come out as well for swearing in office, which will be done by past President Dave Lewis.
Let me begin by congratulating you to your election or appointment to a position of extreme importance in the Maryland State Firemen's Association. You ready to accept the responsibility of this position? I ask that you now raise your right hand, repeat the oath of office after me, in your name, writing as mine. I, David Lewis. I, David Wagner. Do solemnly promise and swear. That I will uphold the Constitution and bylaws. Of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. I will perform the duties
Next, we'll have a presentation on the National Fire Heritage Center, Preserving the Written History of Fire in America. And this will be presented by Wayne Powell. The Heritage Center is a tenant of the museum. Both opened last year together with joint effort, collects, preserves, and makes available for access critical written text records and documents both from firefighting disciplines and related fields of fire protection, from codes to sprinkler technology, and from fire equipment manufacturer to acknowledging the contributions of those who have struggled to protect their neighbors, businesses, and institutions of our society from the ravages of fire. Wayne Powell.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all are? As Cousin Minnie Pearl would say, howdy. I'm so proud to be here. I want to share with you a little something I think will be of interest to every single one of you. And if you don't mind, I'd like to have a little fun in the way, along the way. At the end of each of these 3 aisles, there are people with brochures about what I'm going to share with you over the next couple of minutes. And at any time, if you want to go back and pick one up, why, please do. My mission this morning, if I can get all this to come together for me here, is to speak on behalf of a dedicated group of men and women from all over the United States in all related disciplines of fire, or FAR, depending on where you're from. In Emmitsburg, we have TARs on our fire trucks and sirens on ambulances, so you know what I'm talking about. The National Fire Heritage Center is a part of the fire landscape in greater metropolitan Emmitsburg, as you all already know, and our working relationships with all the other activities based there are just extraordinary. And I'm delighted to have this few minutes with you today to talk about your legacy, your history, and all of those with whom you have served, including those members of your own family who may have already gone on before. The National Fire Heritage Center was born from the realization that every day, critical bits and pieces of our history are disappearing. Most of us in the firefighting business are really kind of oriented around 3-dimensional things. If you will, the badges and the helmets and the equipment and the trumpets and antique apparatus and what have you. But behind all of that, there's written word of great importance. And much of that has already disappeared. In fact, literally daily, some of the things being thrown away will never be found again. So the Fire Heritage Center is not only about the fire services, but all of the connected, related disciplines in fire protection. Building codes, fire insurance, fire equipment manufacturing, fire protection engineering. So together we say the fire services and the fire protection disciplines. There we go. That's formerly the quarters of the Emmitsburg Volunteer Ambulance in Emmitsburg, which sits on county property and is now the home to the Frederick County Fire Rescue Museum and Preservation Society, and also the National Fire Heritage Center. Originally, that building was going to be turned down, so in its latter years of use, no funding, no upgrades were made, and then it sat vacant for about 3.5 years before we were able to jointly acquire that activity. I'm speaking in part on behalf of Chip Jewell, who nearly all of you know. Chip, family emergency, he will be back tomorrow. But the Fire Rescue Museum in Emmitsburg is really about local history specific to Frederick County and related disciplines in and of greater Frederick County. The National Fire Heritage Center is a tenant and a joint partner with the museum. And the Heritage Center really is national and even international in focus, and includes all of the documentation from American history that goes all the way back to the very beginning. The idea is to provide a mechanism to get, by way of the internet and other electronic means, all information that people might want to know about the history of fire in our country. The picture on the upper left is Dr. Burton Clark with former State Fire Marshal Ron Coleman of California, a name most all of you will recognize. And Burton is presenting to the Fire Heritage Center the original seat belt pledge. If you remember in the opening exercise here on Monday, that was one of the very first things that was spoken about. firefighter safety and the importance of wearing seatbelts. On the right, you see part of the display of the Fire Rescue Museum in Frederick County, and we're really thrilled that so many families have provided memorabilia, bits and pieces of their forefathers and foremothers, if you will, and also the area fire companies, and all in the service, career and volunteer together. The front part of the building, the apparatus section, if you will, features several pieces of antique fire apparatus, including a hose carriage from Independent Hose of 1893, and a couple of smaller rigs, hand-drawn, and then, of course, that 1939 Aaron's Fox pumper. This is part of the building that's devoted to the Fire Heritage Center, and if it looks like it's only about paper, you're almost entirely correct. This is really an archival effort. It's about preserving the written word. Now, we take collections from all over the country, and like all of you, in addition to the three-dimensional things that you have, badges and pins and various things that you've acquired over your years in this business, we also have all of the written documentation. So things as maybe seemingly unimportant as old newsletters and fire department documentation, and especially important to us is documenting the evolution of technology. A lot of people like to kid that, over 300 years of activity unhampered by progress, but nothing could be farther from the truth. While there will always be in our country those who are out on the leading edge, the bleeding edge, and are out before the rest of us, and there will always be some who, are bringing up the rear, the fire service has often been among the first in municipal government activity to adapt to new technology. And I use as an example in the state of Hawaii, it was really the Honolulu Fire Department, city and county of Oahu, that brought the internet to the rest of the state. Very fascinating way in which that evolved. So as you can perhaps appreciate, those of you who've been to Hawaii know what I'm talking about. They're kind of at the end of the information pipeline by getting their people connected to information technology and also encouraging their people to travel and visit fire departments around the world and take advantage of training opportunities elsewhere. They brought technology to them and then enhanced the entire state, not only in the fire service, but all disciplines of state and local government. In the picture that you see there, there are a number of out-of-print textbooks, one-only items from the past, and a lot of that is kind of crinkly, yellowed, aging paper. It's not the paper so much as it is the information on the paper, which most people are really seeking to get to. We've acquired collections from all over the country, great names. Bob Barraclaw, many of you will know that name as relates to fire apparatus. He's really the guy that came up with the striping that we now find so commonly being affixed to new apparatus today. Frank Brannigan, as an example. Dr. Harry Hickey's collection. Dr. Harry Hickey is really kind of the founding principal member of this whole process. Items in that picture include things from the Illinois fire inspectors and from fire departments, large and small, all over the United States. This is a picture of a couple of things that are unique to Frederick County. First of all, that unit on the left is referred to as the Old Lady, built in 1821 in Philadelphia. It went to Baltimore City, where it served with some pride at the Mechanical Company. The Mechanical Company of Baltimore was really kind of the leading inspiration for the creation of a library system, firefighting services, constables or law enforcement, and almost all the downtown streets in Baltimore are named for members of the original Mechanical Company. That unit then went on to serve in Frederick at the United Steam Fire Engine Company number 3, and on the back of that little black cart that you see, that's where they put hoses and buckets. But if you're familiar with the Old Lady and that type of technology, as many as 12 people would get on a side. Let me correct that. As many as 12 men would get on each side and pump forever. If you go by recorded history, you get the impression that pretty much everything that's happened in fire in America has been done by men. So let me ask you a question. How did the water get from the water source to the pumping unit? This is where you participate. Buckets, so we call those bucket brigades. Normally the men would pass the buckets full of water. Now the empty buckets had to get back to the water source. Who do you think done that? women and children. So you see, you can't separate the importance from women. In our collection, by the way, we have a lot of documentation of where women were active, even in our own state fire service in the 1920s, and again during the Second War when a lot of the men were overseas. Well, maybe I'm not going to get to go forward here. There we go. Some of you are into collection of antiques will recognize the two types of water extinguishers, the one on the right being what some people refer to as a pony, P-O-N-Y, extinguisher, very rare. And of course the fire alarm box, that one from Charlotte, North Carolina. On the right in that picture is from 1953, New Yorker magazine. And that's a picture of firefighters talking about the importance of fire safety to youngsters. And we're up in the dormitory space on the second floor looking down through the pole hole as a firefighter's lecturing about fire safety. While on the right, one of the most famous ever slogans in fire prevention, "In a fire, seconds count." I mention these as just similar examples of things in the field of public fire safety education. But in all aspects of fire prevention, whether it's codes or inspection or fire arson investigation, or bringing about change, such as we've seen in our state in recent years, and certainly this year is a banner year for us in the field of residential fire safety, that history will get away from us very quickly, especially in the electronic age where after you're kind of finished with it, you may or may not save it, and it may not be available in hard copy. So much of what will be held at Emmitsburg in the Fire Heritage Center may not necessarily reside there. It may belong to families like yours, but by gracious support of people like you and others, allowing us to have access to that material, to scan it and make it available electronically. So when you go on the internet or you come to Emmitsburg, you'll be able to find history that you probably wouldn't find most anywhere else. The reason for that is most fire history in America is held in private collections. The public collections, like insurance companies and the like, are rapidly disappearing in many areas because of the cost associated with maintaining it, the cost associated with heating and air conditioning and moving boxes and what have you, requiring a lot of staff. Those kind of things are being cut back. So a lot of private sector fire protection advances are disappearing just like they have been in the fire services. And that area that had been traditionally the archives of a corporation may now become an office space or storage or some other activity, an IT computer center and the like. So one of the things we look to do with some success to date is having the private sector as equal partners in this process, because you see, you really can't separate the firefighting services, career, volunteer, large city, small town, from the written documentation that deals with things like the old National Board of Fire Underwriters and firefighter training materials and activities in the military and the federal government, the armed services, related to fire protection. These are so interrelated that you really couldn't have just a proper documentation of one side, the private or the public sector, without the other. I thought you might find this of interest. If you were with us for the dedication of the National Fire Heritage Center in October last year, would you raise your hand? We had a lot of people from the State Fire Association. Thank you very much. As part of the museum, separate from the Heritage Center, as part of the museum at Emmitsburg, there are a number of artifacts from the Maryland State Firemen's Association and other state-level fire groups. And I know this document's a little hard to see given our temporary AV capability and the change of the building, but that is the logbook from the Palama Fire Station of the Honolulu Fire Department in the period of 1941 and 42. And on the page on the right, where the arrow is, that was a day like any other day in Palama, close to Hickam Field. And as I'm going to show you here in a second, just like a lot of other fire departments that keep their records in a logbook, it's a routine kind of day. In this case, they're counting the laundry and who's on leave and any issues with regard to broken equipment or apparatus updates and the like. And then all of a sudden, the world as people had known it at that time, December 7, 1941, changed forever. And a little bit further down on that page is the documentation of the firefighters that were injured and killed that day. And interestingly enough, from history, the only civilians to ever have been awarded the Purple Heart were the firefighters from the Honolulu Fire Department that were injured and killed that day. Never before and never since. That book had never been out of Hawaii until they sent it up for us to use for the dedication day. I thought I knew how to make this work, but here we go. Now, on the right in the plastic sleeve is the actual run sheet from a small volunteer fire department, smaller than most all of ours in this room, in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. I know it's hard for you to see, but we're documenting the activity that occurred in our country on 9/11. And on that run sheet, if you can read it, down in the very bottom where all the firefighters' names are shown, many of them have the initials PV in parentheses, which probably means they came to the scene in their personal vehicle. Right. Now, there's only one of those. If it gets lost, it's lost forever. That happens to be the logbook of Engine 10 of the Arlington County Fire Department on 9/11. And when you look on the right-hand side, it's just like any other day. Those that are in the station, those that are out on training details, and again, counting the bed sheets and the things like that. And then all of a sudden, there's a late entry about terrorists bombing the Pentagon. Again, there's only one of those, and if it gets lost, it's probably lost forever. For the day of our dedication, the New York City Fire Department, at this rate, Ken, I'll never get through by, I won't have to worry about the bridge closing going back. I'll still be here. Yeah, somebody. The interesting thing was when it came time for the Fire Department City of New York to ship the logbook from the 10 house, Engine 10, Ladder 10, which was at the base of World Trade Center Tower number 2, it could not be found. The Chief of Department and the New York City Fire Department Commissioner had committed and were absolutely trying to do everything possible to get that book to be with us for the dedication. The unfortunate thing is, it's lost. It's hard to say where it may be. It could be just somewhere where they hasn't turned up yet, or it could have been taken by somebody and maybe never seen again. That event is a one-only kind of thing. So we had documentation from 9/11, minus the missing written word, if you would, from the New York City Fire Department. The document you see there commemorates another one of our activities, and that's called the Hall of Legends, Legacies, and Leaders. People who have made a profound impact, men and women, in the fire services and the fire protection disciplines. So already inducted are people like Ben Franklin, or in the more modern era, like Frank Brannigan, or Peter Gansey, the chief of the New York City Fire Department on 9/11. And I always like to point out to visitors that Peter Gansey, although he was chief of department, FDNY, went to his burial spot at the cemetery on board his volunteer fire department pumper from Long Island. Kind of interesting. Peter had 2 sons in the fire department, a daughter married to a member of the New York City Fire Department, and was an extraordinary fellow in so many ways. So we commemorate all that he did for all of us in the fire service, certainly long before 9/11. So the Hall of Legends, Legacies, and Leaders is an annual event where we receive nominations, hopefully from people like you, to commemorate those who have given so much of themselves. Perhaps as an example, you might want to know, already inducted are people like Jim Page. Jim was a leader in the Los Angeles County Fire Department, really a incredibly talented fellow from a technology standpoint, and especially as relates to the world of fire and rescue. And he was assigned the duty of being the technical director for that old television show Emergency, or Rescue 51, as some of you would know. And he's the one that made many of us so interested in it, because he insisted that it be technically correct, with Roy Gage and Johnny DeSoto and the like. Jim went on to found Jim's Magazine and many, many publications in the fire services, and unfortunately died in a YMCA where they did not have an AED, even though he was a leading proponent of AEDs everywhere. This is a group of the first inductees into the Hall of Legends, Legacies, and Leaders. And included in there would be the first black fire chief in America, and people in the federal and military fire service who led, such as a senior fire chief from Iceland in the Navy, and also Howie McLennan. Those of you who are also members of the International Association of Fire Chiefs will perhaps remember that Howie was the president, or today's title would be General President of the IAFF. And I point this out to volunteers. During his time as the vice chair of the National Commission, the Presidential Commission on Fire Prevention and Control that led to the creation of today's U.S. Fire Administration and its National Fire Academy, Howie was the vice chair of that presidentially appointed commission and was always interested in what the impact on America's volunteer fire service would be if the commissioners wrote in their report that the role of the federal government should be to do or not to do something. Rather extraordinary when you think of all the emotion and commotion that many of us have lived through over the last 20, 30 years. Howie lived to be age 95 and was very sharp and very bright right up to the very end. So we commemorate his contributions, along with many others. We now have just installed our second round of people. The other activity I thought you might be interested in is the Benjamin Franklin Fire Writers Award. I mentioned to you that the National Fire Heritage Center is really an archival effort. It's about preserving the written word in our American history on all aspects related to fire. And if you ever met a person who portrays Ben Franklin, or if you are a kind of a devotee of all that Franklin did for our country, you know that the single thing of which he was most proud was his role as a printer. He valued the written word. His role in the American Fire Service is legendary. The Ben Franklin Award encourages the recognition of men and women who contribute to documentation of what you all and your colleagues across America do. So it's divided into categories. Those who write newspaper reports about the fire service, a massive emergency incident and the like. People who write textbooks, those who do technical editing and writing, and those who do reporting now in all forms of electronic media as well. So I wanted to wish you well when we saw former Mayor Mathias up here guaranteeing you that the parade would be nice in Ocean City, the weather would be nice in Ocean City. By golly, he delivered again. So it is really a great honor for me to speak on behalf of all the men and women, including folks here in the state of Maryland. I mentioned Chip Jewell and his role on the museum side. Past President Bobby Bolter represents all of you from MSFA. And we have folks in all the various disciplines, fire marshals, folks that were leaders in military fire protection, industrial fire protection like David White of Texas. Bill Killen, a name that many of you know, served for many, many years in a lot of roles here in Maryland, a fire officer and also a trainer. Bill represents the federal sector in as much as one of his roles was as the fire marshal for the United States Navy. He also has a personal interest in military fire apparatus, a very unique little category. Members of our board, men and women, represent all of the disciplines that you can think of as you would want, including issues like safety to students on college campuses and off-campus housing and the like. So with a great deal of pride and humility, I want you to know how absolutely thrilled I am to be with you today. I want to ask of you a very special request here. Please do not throw anything away. That ought to appeal to the spouses in the room, I imagine. So to the spouses of those of you what like to lick red paint, may I say, for all of you who have for so many years said, honey, when you go, I bet you don't know what's going to happen to all that fire stuff. Anyway, don't throw it away. Please let us know of it. We'd be very interested. And our mission is to preserve collections intact. So as we've received collections from a lot of folks, we try to keep their materials together. I want to give you a couple of quick examples before I go. Fire Chief Don Ringer of the Waynesboro, Pennsylvania Fire Department was a lifelong fire inspector at Letterkenny Army Depot. He traveled the world because of his love of the fire service and fire protection. And he has things in his collection from labor management issues in big cities to how to run a fire department carnival. Things from Japan and Korea and Germany and France. Documentation of things across the Pennsylvania Fire Service. And of course, Don was a wonderful supporter of our National Fallen Firefighter Memorial and all the activities at Emmitsburg, the U.S. Fire Administration, National Fire Academy, the Emergency Management Institute, what we used to call ENET, the television studios, and then PrepNet. And the Fire Heritage Center at Emmitsburg is a signatory to a number of memos of understanding, MOUs, with groups like the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation. And in that context, I want to come back just a second and make sense of that for you. Also, the U.S. Fire Administration and all the components of the National Emergency Training Center. We are only steps from the Training Center campus, just like the Army Heritage Center in Carlisle, Pennsylvania is to the Army War College. And in the context of the Fallen Firefighter Memorial at Emmitsburg, as you all know, that commemorates those who left us way too early. The National Fire Heritage Center has as its purpose to recognize those who may have spent their entire lives doing things for their friends and neighbors related to fire and who don't get properly saluted. And in their personal collections sometimes are unique items that do not exist anywhere else in the world. So spouses, hint, hint, if there's any chance that you think something's going to be thrown away and you think we might be able to use it and preserve it, why, we'd be delighted to work with you on that. And we use as our model the Army Heritage and Education Center's approach, and that is as we get better quality versions of certain pieces of history, then just like the Smithsonian, we will sell items that maybe weren't in as good a shape. And the folks at the Army Heritage Center remind us after you get 500 Army blankets, you really kind of don't need anymore. So there's sort of a parallel for us in the Heritage Center. Their motto in Carlisle is telling the story of the Army one soldier at a time. You could insert the words fire protection engineer, firefighter, fire officer, county fire association president, state fire association auxiliary color bearer. We want to tell the story of people like you, many of whom have gone on well before us, and you and those that follow after you. Many of you are members of families that have been doing this for decades, and it would be a shame not to preserve that kind of experience and documentation. Anyway, if you're interested in the brochure, at the end of the 3 aisles, there are folks with the little handouts for you, which you're welcome to. As the activity grows, we'll be open more hours, but currently the museum is open every Saturday and every Sunday from noontime until 4 o'clock. We're looking to be open a couple of nights a week, and both the museum and the Heritage Center are open by special appointment. We have a lot of National Fire Academy classes that come from all, students from all over the United States, even overseas, to be a part of the effort, which is really, really neat. One of the things we've learned from the Army Heritage Center is the importance of oral interviews, just like the MSFA Historical and Archives has been working on. But we've learned from the folks in the Army that it really takes a special talent to make that kind of thing work well. They have taught us that to create a finished hour of an oral interview with a great man or woman in their disciplines, or in ours now, it takes 25 hours worth of work, scripting, setting up and lighting and the cameras, and then, of course, filming and editing, and then doing final production and what have you. So for a finished hour, by the way, the United States Army has dedicated people who do nothing but manage the Oral History Project. It's led by a full-bird colonel. And there's a lot that they want to share with us, which we're absolutely delighted. And then part of our mission is to share with local fire departments and fire associations and state-level fire groups how to preserve your own history. It's not uncommon to walk into a firehouse and see a photo album up on the shelf and it's in disrepair, or pictures of members of that fire organization from 20 or 120 years ago, and the sunlight has faded them and somebody spilled coffee on a page and that sort of thing. What we've learned is this world of archivism, being an archivist, is a discipline all unto itself. We did not realize that you can go and get advanced college degrees in one little narrow aspect of preserving written history and photographs and the documentation on people that have gone on before. But they're really collectively, including the Smithsonian, by the way, are excited about our evolution. Now, nobody gets any pay. It's all voluntary kind of effort. And if you'd like to come up and help us tote some boxes, I can see that warms the cockle of your hearts, doesn't it, huh? But if you'd like to help us in any way, we'd love to have you. You do not have to be resident at Emmitsburg to be a part of the National Fire Heritage Center project, and it is growing every single day. In fact, tomorrow, a number of national fire organizational leaders will be at the Fire Heritage Center during the noon hour to connect and find ways to build their history into the history of the Fire Heritage Center as well. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to have had this opportunity to be with you, and if I can help you, I'll be around a little bit before I head out. Thank you all very much for your attention. Have a great break. Bye-bye.
Wayne, we have a proclamation thanking you for your terrific presentation. I'd like to present it to you. And we have a bag and mug.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
I ask Ron Sarnick to come to the podium for the final convention committee report.
Well, it's winding down. Today we'll finish up in here, but we still have activities over the next couple of days. It's been interesting with all the changes here at the convention center, what we've been able to pull together, and that would not have been possible without the efforts of the convention steering committee and the convention committee as a whole. When we got word that there was going to be a construction project here, we were pretty concerned about how we were going to be able to maintain the elements of our annual convention. But as you can see, the teams that worked on this pulled it together. There's a few changes, of course, but we're able to pull it together. So I'd like to ask if you would join me in a round of applause for all those people that did all that work. The construction update for next year, we're just not sure if the back will be finished or not. It's supposed to be, but we're just not positive about that. As you well know, in any construction project, things never seem to stay on schedule. But if you haven't followed that process, the intent for this phase of the project will be an extension on this level all the way out to the bay of additional meeting room and exhibit space. And the back wall at the bay end will be all glass, so that when you come into the main ballroom, you'll be able to see out over the bay and have the beautiful waterfront as the view. Also underneath this level, which was the old loading dock where we used to have the picnic and the Monday night beach parties, that will all be exhibit space as well. And we plan to move the exhibits that are in what we now refer to as the old C Hall, which is underneath this room, out back, and that'll add to the exhibits that we have over in the new wing, which is the old AB Hall. So there's a lot that's going to be happening. Once that project is completed, the city or town of Ocean City has gotten approval to start the next phase of the construction, which will be to put in a 1,200-seat performing arts theater with a full stage and theatrical support activities. And the plan is that that will be a two-leveled room, two-level facility. And actually what's going to happen is everything on the back side of this temporary wall, which is where we had the President's Banquet, the picnic lunch yesterday, the prayer breakfast, and the bingo events, that actually will be under renovation after this project being finished. And they're going to put the two-level theater performing arts center in there. It'll run north to south, probably with seating on this level high on this side and the stage down below and what we now have or use as the exhibit hall C. So that's the next phase. They have been through the Board of Public Works. They have support from the State Stadium Authority, and that'll be the next piece that we'll have to deal with as we go through. Hopefully when that's finished, then we'll be back to the idea of having a formal stage and a performance area without so much of the pipe and drape and some of the other audiovisual things, such as the light trussing and stuff that we had to bring in. So please stay tuned to that. Keep aware of what's going on via the MSFA website. We'll provide updates from the convention committee to all of you so you can be prepared for next year's event. This year, we actually have set some records. The attendance at the Monday night Jolly Roger was over 2,000 members of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. So we broke the 2,000 mark for Monday night. It's a phenomenal thing for all of us. And that's part of our commitment from the convention committee to get back to some family activities where we could do some things as a family unit. The memorial service, we had about 1,800 people in here for the memorial service on Sunday. And we did see a lot of interest in the new member benefits that we provided. I understand that the seated massage was pretty busy all day yesterday for those that took advantage of it. And the hands-on training. We are really going to try to expand that and provide more training and educational opportunities as part of the convention. Of course, today the parade starts 1 o'clock. You've heard people talking about this. It is expected to be in the high 90s. So please bring lots of water. Make sure you're hydrated. We know that it's going to be a little confusing. We've already been trying to deal with the questions. The best I can tell you is bear with us. It's a new route. The route is as a result of requests from the town of Ocean City, trying to deal with the traffic flow in town and also the huge costs relative to public safety overtime in order to keep those traffic moving throughout the town of Ocean City. So lineup is still at the inlet parking lot. And then what they will do is the parade committee will move blocks of apparatus from the inlet up to the start of the parade, kind of like in a convoy, and they'll dispatch them in groups, and they'll flow normal traffic conditions from the inlet up to around 14th Street, where they'll be staged to run the parade from there up to 30th Street. And so we're going to see how it goes. Apparently, if any of you have been down here for the Ravens Roost, it's the same parade route they use for that event. So we're going to work through that and see how it goes and see what the feedback is. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Lights are too bright. There's a reviewing stand at 23rd and 28th, from what I understand. 2 reviewing stands. So we're hoping that we'll get through it this year, make it work. It's something new, and I think that we've put a lot of plans, a lot of efforts into it. The other thing, don't forget executive committee meeting tomorrow morning in East Hall, which is where the ladies have been meeting all week. And then the golf tournament on Friday at Eagles Landing, which starts at 7:30, shotgun start. I think there was still 1 foursome left, but otherwise it's completely sold out. But if you're scheduled to play, please come on out. If you think you want to, see Fred Cross. He's down on the lower level. So I hope that the convention committee has met your expectations. We've had a lot to overcome this year and a lot to adapt to, but I feel that we've given you a good event. And I want to thank you for bearing with us through these changes and as we continue to grow the convention, what's in store for us in the future. So thank you, and I guess, are there any other questions relative to any? Mr. Past President. My understanding is that they're going to move them in blocks, yes, like a convoy. Now, they're not marching. They're going to be just moving with the regular flow of traffic, and just the vehicles. They're going to put the bands and the marching units on the side streets from 13th through 15th, have them, but they're going to just move the vehicles in blocks through town. Sure. Sorry, the wingman is giving me tidbits to remind everybody. But yeah, so the intent is just to move the apparatus. The problem is there's no place to stage all those fire trucks and EMS units and everything else up there. So they're going to move them in a convoy fashion and then reline them back up. So it's going to involve 2 moves. It's going to be interesting. So other questions relative to the convention? Anything at all from anybody? Okay, I'm sorry. Next year's dates. June. They're yelling through the back. June 15th is the start of the convention next year here in Ocean City. And it'll still go through with the Saturday night President's Dinner, Sunday memorial service, and we're still planning Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday parade, Thursday executive, Friday the golf tournament. Don't forget, we have bus passes. They're good through the next couple of days. Try to ride the bus, keep the traffic down. It's a nice benefit for everybody. And parking, of course, is going to be at a premium, especially down near the parade route. So you might want to ride the bus down if you're going to watch it and partake in that. Or find some friends that are staying in some of the hotels and stay with them along the parade route. The other thing that the curtain has asked me to do is to call on Richard Brooks. Are you here? Richard, could you come out here? He is
So wrong.
nice.
Me and Mr. Ray.
You and Mr. Ray. So I've been asked to bring him out and say thanks. If you didn't notice the do, that's what this was all about. But Richard has done a lot with the convention. He serves as our master ceremonies for many events, but that was just a way to get him out here, to get him on the internet so that he's been blasted around the world with his very special do today. So anyway, thank you. It's a pleasure serving as your convention chairman. If you have any issues that you want to bring to the table, if you have any ideas or suggestions, we'd love to hear them. We will hold our critique for the convention probably late August, and we'll get things cranking for next year. So other than that, thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure serving as your chairman.
I'd like to thank Ron and the convention committee again. They've done a tremendous job this week. I'd also like to remind you again, those that may be thinking about leaving right about now, again, the Bay Bridge will be closed for an hour starting at 1 o'clock. Stop and see the parade instead. Those of you who are interested in picking up the certificates for families having multiple generations serving in the fire service, or for those serving in the military, those certificates will be at the executive committee meeting tomorrow morning. The executive committee meeting tomorrow morning will be in the East Hall starting at 9 o'clock. Those that are not picked up tomorrow morning will be given to the appropriate executive committee member, and they will distribute them as soon as they can. The next thing we need to do is start some of the drawings, and I'd like CJ Benz from Providence, CJ's the regional director, to please come onto the stage.
How's everybody doing? And the heat is here. Stay hydrated. First off, I would like to congratulate Past President Lewis on his term and wish President Denver a successful term as well. A wonderful convention. As I think back, I don't think I've been around this long, but somehow I made it to 20 conventions. I don't know how that happened. If I can get the president out here to pick the winner of the bronze engraved fire axe from Provident Insurance.
Saltwater. Charles Stewart, Northeast Fire Company, 210 Maudlin, South Maudlin, Cecil County.
Thank you very much.
Next, we'd like John Fisher, Chair of the Safety Committee. They have a drawing for the seatbelt pledges.
Good morning. We have a basket of the safety equipment for those that signed the seatbelt pledge. They were able to fill out a chance for the giveaway. Mr. President, can we have you out to, in the past President Lewis, we need each of you to draw a ticket. We would like to thank past President Lewis. He's been very supportive in the safety avenues, and anything the safety committee can do to help any company, please get with us. Read your names.
My name?
No, the winning name.
I have Don Miller.
We have the phone number on here, so we'll be contacting them to pick up their baskets. Janet Malsgog. We have her phone number, and we will be calling her from backstage. So, we'd like to thank those that have participated. Again, our big push, we would like to see the state of Maryland become the first state to have 100% in the seatbelt compliance. It's not something that we shouldn't be able to reach. It is a state law, riding in the fire apparatus, that you wear your seatbelt. So it's just a matter of getting some signatures of your riders, and if there's anything that the safety committee can do to help any of the departments, please get with us. We're on the website. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll have past President Gene Worthington. It'll be a drawing for the Maryland Fallen Firefighters Memorial.
Morning. Bring you greetings from the Maryland Fire Rescue Services Memorial Foundation. You know, our biggest challenge is to continue on. You know, we have a budget that we need to meet every year, and we have to keep raising funds. So this is one of the benefits that we're trying to raise money. We're going a raffle on the jacket. So, John, if you'll draw me out a name. The jacket is extra large, but if that's not the right size, we'll get you one. Oh, my lands. From Pennsylvania. Delvia Cum, K-U-M-M, P.O. Box 144, Corrinsville, Pennsylvania. I feel certain she's not here. John Pickett, up there. Also, as part of our ongoing money-raising efforts, we are requesting that every station in Maryland purchase a memorial picture and display in honor of our fallen firefighters. Throughout the year, the presidents will have these with them as they travel. They're $75, just as you see it already, to hang on the wall. So please, we're requesting all the stations to have this. So thank you very much.
I'd like the Ways and Means Committee now to come forward for the $10,000 raffle.
Okay, this is the time that everybody's been waiting for. I know it's a time I've been waiting for, but now I can stop selling these chances. President, the incoming and the outgoing president, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to chair this committee. Most of the work that's done on this committee is done by my committee here. And as of the close of business today, we have turned in $56,319.
We had thought that we were going to make a record this year, but yesterday was slow, and we got to beat that 58,000 come this year when John's president. So we're got to work a little harder. So we'll get it this year, 58,000. But I got to thank a few special people. Number one is my committee, because these people put in hours. I mean hours. They've worked the Chesapeake City Canal Days, the Harford County Fair, the Bel Air Barbecue Bash, the Darlington Apple Festival, the Sun Fest, the Spring Fest, and here at the convention. I mean hours, days they put in. Need to thank other few special people. Chuck Austin, he sold $1,400 worth of chances on his own, okay? Gloria Lewis sold $600 on her own, and Betty Pilkerton from the MSF, from the Ladies Auxiliary, she sold $500 worth on her own. The lady's 85 years old. I mean, what can you do? She's a great salesperson. I'd like to thank John. You reappointed me again this year, didn't you? Thanks for my reappointment to the committee. And right now, I want to bring up past President Lewis to give a special thanks to my people that worked all these 4 or 5 affairs that I spoke of. They spent, like I said, hours in the cold and the rain and the heat. So, Dave?
Lou, I just want to take a moment of personal privilege to thank you and the entire team out here. As you heard him mention, these folks travel around at their own expense and on their own time to Springfest, Sunfest, every festival that they can find in order to hawk these tickets. And this is the hawkster, I'm telling you. I've watched him down the Ocean City Inlet gang tackle people in order to make them buy a ticket. So you buy a beer for $4, you got $1 change. Buy a ticket with that. Or either that, or buy this there and skip the beer and save yourself a headache later.
Either buy 2 beers, leave me one, and buy a ticket too.
But I certainly want to take this opportunity to thank you and the members of the committee. And I have a certificate of appreciation. I'll read the first one, and that's the officers and members of the Maryland State Firemen's Association offer our sincere thanks and appreciation for your service and support as a member of the Ways and Means Committee. This committee has done an outstanding job in promoting the annual $10,000 raffle and contributes significantly towards the operational funding to support the mission of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. Thank you on a job well done, and signed by myself and Secretary Joe Cooper. And certainly thank you. And I'm going to give you the first one because, again, you are the ringleader. So, so.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very
Anna,
much.
I have one here for you also. And hopefully I got everybody. If not, Lou will give me another list. Mitch? John Means here. I know he kind of takes care of the central Maryland region. Buddy Schweers. And the other half of the Schweers, Lou Ann.
That's the directing hand.
Yeah. John Byrne. Betty Byrne. Chris Korn. Never mind. There's John. John, to present you with this certificate. Thank you for your support to the raffle.
Sue DeLunas.
Sue DeLunas. He had to help me out there with that pronunciation there.
Now we call her something else.
Oh. Alan Thompson. And Shirley Thompson. All right. Thank you, Lou. Let the money begin.
All right. This crew that got the certificates are the people that spend the time at all the festivals. So, and they work, like he said, they work many hours, and they're here on their own dime. So, MSFA does not pay our way, but we have fun doing it. Here we go for the first big winner. She went deep. She went deep. Okay, the winner of the $10,000 is a P. Walsh, W-A-L-S-H. Phone number 410-771-1430. Is he here? P. Walsh. We will get a hold of him. Yeah, I've been told about 150,000 times that find my ticket. The second winner, Potomac Fire Company, number 2, Westport, Maryland. 25. 2,500. You got a chance so I can read the numbers? 2515, I think. You got one? Okay, the third winner, $1,500 winner. Lauren K-I-C-T-T, it looks like. Lauren Kick, 410-592-2695. Lauren, are you here? Nope. We'll get a hold of you too. That's 1,500. Fourth place winner of $1,000, Guy Giesel, Denton, Maryland, 410-310-5058. Are you here? We'll contact you also. 1,000. Yeah. Fifth winner, Diane R. Love, 301-840-2266. Everybody left. Oh, well, let's have to make some phone calls, 750. Winner number 6. Oh, my God. Richard Alla, A-L-L-A. Allen, A-L, I don't know. 410-495-8253. Richard, are you here? Yep, it's $500. Seventh prize is Ken Wilson, 561-706-7439. She filled out this card, so she gets 10%. She wins $250. 10% is $25. Just $250. Okay, the eighth winner of $100 is the Reese and Community Fire Company. Yep. Reese and Community Fire Company. $100. Number 9 is Danielle Redgrave, Rodriguez Redgrave, 410-793-9253. Glen Burnie, from Glen Burnie. $100. That was 9. Last but not least is Debbie and John Sharkey, 301-463-6181. Yay, we got somebody over there. We do? Is that you? Step right up. $100. Okay, guys, we thank everybody for all their participation and all their hard work. And we'll see you again this time next year.
I want to again thank Lewis Committee. It's a tremendous amount of money they've raised, and also an awful lot of work. So, in the future, please help. Please sell tickets. Unfinished first. I'd like to call for any unfinished business of the association. Again, calling for any unfinished business of the association. One last call for any unfinished business. We'll now move to new business. New business for the association. Is there any new business for the association? Last call for new business. I'd like to call Reverend Barnhart forward for the benediction.
Let's rise. Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for bringing another successful convention of the Maryland State Firemen's Association and Ladies Auxiliary to a close. We give you thanks for the officers this past year and for the new officers who are going in to begin their journey around this great state. We ask you to be with us during the rest of the events that go on here in Ocean City. We ask you to be with those who are traveling back today. Grant them safe travel as they return to their respective fire stations to resume the work of each and every individual fire company. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may the Lord lift up the wonderful light of his countenance upon you and grant to you his peace until we meet again. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? All opposed? It is adjourned. Quick reminder, the bus for judges and officers will leave out front at 12 o'clock. Be careful, be safe, and again, it's a warm day. Hydrate well. Thank you.